All right. We're going to talk taxes now, and we'll start with Mr. LePage in this. Government here in Maine gets its money from three main sources: the state income tax, the sales tax, and local property taxes. Among those, where should our tax relief efforts be targeted?
Property taxes. I believe property taxes in the state of Maine since the year 2000 have grown 68%. And the reason they're growing so fast is the state of Maine tries to be everything to everybody. They've grown a government that is not sustainable based on the income levels of Maine people. We need to get some relief. LD1 was intended to provide relief. I know of one community that provided the relief to its taxpayers because we lowered our taxes 13%, and LD1 was a major factor. But many communities did not. But the taxpayers of Maine cannot afford the rate in which the property taxes are climbing. And the next one is, I think, the most regressive other tax in the state of Maine is the sales tax.
Mr. Mills?
It's the capital gains tax. We for years have been charging 8.5% on capital gains. Everybody that looks to invest venture capital in Maine or to open up a new facility of any kind has that burden when they're looking at the Excel spreadsheet of looking at an 8.5% black mark penalty that runs across the top of the form. So if you can reduce that to 6 or 6.5%, it makes you more competitive with Massachusetts and other New England states. To me, the key to economic development is to get away from all of these stupid little programs that we have that save a little bit of money here and there for people making new investments but don't do anything for old line businesses like Snow and Neely. Remember when they went out? They said all we ever did wrong was to pay all of our taxes for 120 years or something before we finally got closed. And we don't do anything for our existing businesses, but reducing the top rate of the income tax and the capital gains rate would do exactly that and would restore some measure of economic development here.
Mr. Otten.
We're the highest taxed people in America based on our income when you look at the inheritance tax and the capital gains tax, and I agree completely with what Peter said about capital gains tax. It needs to be reduced, and we need to reduce that because it drives capital out of the state. But we're in a situation that it's kind of like tax du jour, and no matter where you go in the state of Maine and what business you're in, some people are affected by the lodging and meals tax, and that's the worst tax for them. Others by the property tax. Others by income. Others by capital gains tax, and others by inheritance tax. We now have to pay money to go fish in the ocean. I mean, that's nothing more than another tax. When I came to Maine 38 years ago, and I started at Sunday River with 4 employees, which grew to 1,200, people used to talk about Taxachusetts. Well, now it's just the opposite. If I was in Massachusetts, I'd pay less taxes than I was in Maine. And that's what we have to change. That's our challenge. To get there, we need to create new jobs.
Mr. Abbott.
The taxes that people have identified are a real deterrent to job creation and job growth. We have another tax that's a problem in Maine, and that is our estate tax. And being so out of line with the federal, it's driving Mainers to become residents of Florida. We have so many people who live in Maine who would rather be Maine citizens, but instead they're changing their residency by living 6 months and a day in Florida. If we had a lower tax rate for them, some kind of compromise rate for Mainers who have spent their lives here, would get a little more revenue from the taxes that they'd pay, but would also get back their charitable giving and would get back the contributions that they make to the communities. We've got to stop driving our seniors to Florida and let them stay here where they want to be.
Mr. Beardsley.
We should focus on tax relief, not tax reform. We get sidetracked and we negotiate. We need to lower our taxes. But I will use one example. In Ireland, when they cut the corporate income tax from 40 to 11%, within 3 years, state revenue mushroomed. It went up. Our taxes are above the national average. Our family income is only 80% of the national average. In 3 of the counties surrounding Penobscot County, it's only 60% of the national average. Some of that's sales tax, some of it's income tax, some of it's corporate. I think we have to be very egalitarian. I just say we need to bring them all down, and that's where our focus has got to be.
Mr. Jacobson.
We need to reduce taxes on the people that create opportunity. This approach to, we'll take that tax or this tax, we have to focus on creating opportunity. And the reason we have to is because we can't cut our way to prosperity. We can't tax our way to prosperity. The only way out of this problem is to grow out of it. if we're going to create opportunity for our kids, if we're going to fulfill that American destiny that every generation in our history has fulfilled, leaving it better for their kids, then we have to grow. There's only 3 ways to grow. And so those companies from away, sorry, but we have to incent them and compete in that world when they create 400 and 500 jobs, like the companies we brought to Belfast and Athena Health and Boston Financial and some of the others. They require a tax incentive to compete in the world. Our businesses here, how do we keep them here? What are the taxes that affect them? Again, we've got some answers from our paper mills. They told us what they need. Early stage companies, yeah, they need capital gains tax cuts and they need seeds tax credit cuts. But we need to do it specifically to attract jobs and opportunity to our state so that we can grow this economy. That's how we get out of this mess.